Advanced English Arabic Learning Irregular Verbs, Session 09. Fit, fit/fitted, fit/fitted. He had conjured up a monster fit for any fable. Fiona says we can all fit in her car. The landlord had not seen anyone fitting that description. The punishment should fit the crime. An MSc fits the student for a professional career. He started fitting uncontrollably. Carry-on luggage has to fit in the overhead bin. Well, I suppose I could fit you in at 3.45. To fit with his avowed mission of neutrality. The phone fits in the driver's visor. We can have the dress altered to fit you. He rejiggers his stump speech ever so slightly to fit the crowd. This fits the notion that females are socialized to be dependent and obedient. He had been an ardent supporter and endower of the Abbey and is fitting to be buried here. She took in the dress to fit me. I didn't fit in with the other people working there. I didn't have time to fit in another appointment. They're not arriving until Thursday, which fits in with my schedule. His rudeness yesterday fits in with what I have always thought of his behavior. Their ideas didn't fit into our plans. Who could cut the millions of stone blocks and fit them together? They didn't fit the troops out with the necessary protective gear. She fitted her key in the lock. They fitted smoke alarms to their home. Most tools can be fitted with a new handle. Their bodies fitted together perfectly. A screwdriver fitted into the slot. They fitted out the boat for the race. We're having new locks fitted on all the doors of the classrooms. All the carpets we sell are fitted free. The cabin had been fitted out to a high standard. They are neither fit for war nor peace. The party was fit to govern. Your bedroom is fit for a king. Fling, flung, flung. Watching the waves fling the book around before sinking it. To fling a stone. To fling a suspect into jail. Here, fling this meat to the dogs in the yard. Why did you fling your money away on such an expensive car? She flung the junk out the window. He flung his shoe across the room. He flung back the bedclothes. He flung himself into his athletics. He picked up the debris and flung it away. They flung their hats into the air. She flung herself angrily from the room. Lisa had flung out of the house without so much as a glance at him. Fly, flew, flown. The broomstick snapped into 5 pieces, splinters flying everywhere. Gulls are gliding birds, fly with very little movement of the wings. He tends to fly off the handle when people disagree with him. A watch of nightingales began flying south. The space probe was designed for a flyby of the planet Mongo. In this fascinating class, time will just fly by. A pair of birds fly down and perch on the tombstone. The rumor has been flying about for the past week. Close the door or the moths will fly in. I can't fly my hawk for the final because he is too heavy. Balls kept flying over her hedge. She ran after him, her hair flying behind her. There are a lot of stories flying around about her past. The dog flew at the cat when it came into the garden. He flew at them for not trying hard enough. As I get older, the years just fly by. He flew into a rage. The cat went after the pigeon, but it flew away. He flew off the handle at the slightest thing. Kate flew out to London just over a week ago. Helicopters flew the injured to hospital. vessels which flew the Spanish flag. Robbie flew at him, fists clenched. All passengers were flown by our airline. He had flown into a rage when he found his car was clamped. The evening had just flown by. Forbid, forbade/forbade, forbidden. The bylaws forbid playing ball in the public garden. God forbid. We forbid the sale of goods made from endangered species. The law forbids the sale of cigarettes to people under the age of 16. The cliffs forbid any easy turning movement. If, God forbid, a close family member of yours were killed, his parents forbid him wine. I forbid anyone to touch that clock. A contract which forbade him to solicit its customers after leaving its service. Something stood sentinel within her and forbade her every joy. I forbade my daughter to use my car. He had daily meetings he forbade her from attending. Modesty forbade me from mentioning that my novel had been published. Her father forbade her to go out alone. Kings cannot privilege what God forbade. They forbade her to write. Maybe no one told parcels anything because the code forbade it. All vehicles are forbidden. To touch a leper was forbidden. Leavened breads are forbidden during Passover. The place into which they were forbidden to foray. I can see why phones were forbidden. I was forbidden from seeing him again. Forecast, forecast/forecasted, forecast/forecasted. We cannot forecast the future. They're forecasting rain for this weekend. The company is forecasting reduced profits. How can you forecast sales if you don't yet know your likely customers? The mother forecasted the end from that moment. The wiseacres forecast a collapse of the building. He forecasted this with another parable of a fig tree. This storm was forecasted to be only a flash flood threat. Rain is forecast for Scotland. Rain is forecast for the weekend. Foresee, foresaw, foreseen. We did not foresee any difficulties. I foresee you winning your deal. The future system I foresee will not be different in substance. He did not foresee the complications which were likely to arise. The future I foresee is gloomy for both of you. It is difficult to foresee the consequences that may arise from this action. No one foresaw the scale of the disaster. Months ago, I foresaw you coming here today. He foresaw national disaster and ruin. No one foresaw the danger. No one foresaw what he was planning. Few analysts foresaw that oil prices would rise so steeply. I foresaw a slowdown in demand. I foresaw something terrible was about to happen. I have constantly foreseen the likelihood of certain obstacles. I should have foreseen that. But none had foreseen that the losses would be so heavy. It is foreseen to be the most promising product. He could not reasonably have foreseen the consequences. Foretell, foretold, foretold. They foretell glory and prosperity beyond those of all his predecessors. His early career did not foretell his artistic interests. This is an example of when the fortune teller foretells the future. You can't foretell how the war will end. Willow trees breaking out into buds foretell the coming of spring. She foretold their impending doom. The wizards foretold a great war. I was against this marriage even then and foretold all that has happened. She foretold that the man would die soon. Her suddenly narrowed eyes foretold the tingling pride in some particular imagining. The whistle foretold the train's arrival by 10 minutes. A seer had foretold that Adam would assume the throne. No one could have foretold such strange events. It had been foretold to his mother before his birth. He had, against the odds, successfully foretold their loss. Forget, forgot, forgotten. The accident taught me a lesson I'll never forget. He's in the doghouse for forgetting his wife's birthday. Don't forget to poke holes in the dough to allow steam to escape. It is really annoys me when people forget to say thank you. Forget global warming. Cooling is the real one. Forget to wind up my alarm clock and overslept. They forget that keeping silent in the face of injustice makes them accomplices of the criminals. Don't forget to hand in your room key when you check out. They really gave it to me for forgetting to turn up. You'll have to forget that arty-farty nonsense here. If you forgot you racket, you can borrow one $1 make a mountain out of a molehill. The bank robbers were caught because they forgot to use a lookout. I forgot to wind up my alarm clock and overslept. The milk went off because I forgot to put it in the fridge. I forgot to turn the tap off and the water spilled over. I forgot to tuck my shirt in. I've forgotten my bralette. What a nuisance. The end. Coming next. Session 10.